This session was designed keeping in mind the context of the pandemic and the influence that it has had on all our lives, our well-being, and our experiences of inclusion. Last year, at a small gathering of organizations that I had the opportunity to be a part of, a friend of mine shared that a lot of people described the pandemic as an experience that in some ways was universal, and how it meant that we were all sailing in the same boat. But after engaging a bit more, it became pretty clear that we were not really all in the same boat. We were certainly all in the same storm, but the boats we were in were all of different shapes, sizes, quality, functionality, and therefore it is critical to take into account the different kinds of experiences that pose a challenge to well-being for people from diverse contexts, abilities, and experiences. Our discussions today will hopefully allow us to shed some light on these challenges and also further explore the road ahead with regards to the needs that have emerged in this post-pandemic world. We have with us today Vanisha Shetty and Javed Tak. I'll just request both of you all to keep the videos on. Vanisha, I can see the video is on. Javed, if I can just request you to turn the video on, it will allow us to spotlight your video as well.
My video is not working, but I am trying to make. Okay.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Javed. We can see. Great. I'll begin first with introducing myself. For those of you who have just joined in the summit, I am Amrita. I am 34 years old. I am wearing an off-white colored kurta with some pink and orange embroidery, and I'm wearing hanging earrings. I have black hair up to my shoulders that I've tied up in a small little pony. I will quickly introduce both of our panelists as well. So we have with us Javed. Javed Ahmad Tak identifies as a person who attained disability at the age of 22 in a militant attack in Kashmir. He has been a wheelchair user for the last 2 decades. Earlier in his journey, he had started tuitions for orphans and children of militancy hit victims. And later, he started educating children with disabilities. Javed established an organization called Humanity Welfare Organization Helpline at Bijbehara, Kashmir. The organization advocates for the rights of persons with disabilities in Jammu and Kashmir. They also started a school with the name Zeba Apa Institute of Inclusive Education, which provides education and rehabilitation services to children with disabilities. Javed has been recognized at the state, national, and international levels and was recently awarded Padma Shri by the President of India. Welcome today, Javed.
Thank you. Thank you, Amrita, for my introduction.
I will also introduce Vanisha. Vanisha Shetty is a grade 1 teacher at Khoj, which is an Apni Shala initiative of an SEL integrated school. She holds an ECCED degree and a bachelor's in sociology. She works with 32 amazing young people to develop and nurture their wholesome development. She genuinely enjoys working with preschoolers and will share some of her learning and experience with us today. Vanisha, welcome to the panel.
Thank you. Looking forward.
Before I begin, the panel today is going to be bilingual, which means that at different points, our panelists will speak primarily in English and sometimes in Hindi. I will request our sign language interpreters, y'all can continue to sign for English. I will only be paraphrasing in Hindi as they share.
No, Hindi is also okay in signing, so you don't
Perfect.
have to worry.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, I think Vanisha, we've just lost the internet connection. I'll just check. Yes, back. Great. Okay. I think I'll begin first with asking both Javed and Manisha. I'll start with Javed. A lot of the work that the organization does, Javed, has been in through different kinds of initiatives. There is a school, there are community and home-based initiatives as well, and there is advocacy work that the organization does. Thinking about the pandemic and its impact, if you can share what were some of the critical areas that you saw being impacted during the pandemic with regards to the well-being of people and the communities that you work with. And it'll help if you can share specific stories or examples of the children, young people, teachers, caregivers that you work with.
Thank you, Amrita, once again for giving opportunity to share our views regarding the challenges we got during the pandemics. Actually, pandemic was a very much new experience for all of us. Throughout world, it impacted people in a way that we were not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow. Suddenly, the life of everyone got stuck, and when we see the life of person with disabilities, it was completely at a halt. The disability sector in India was not knowing what to do, what will be our fate now, because the protocols in the pandemic was to social distancing, you wearing the mask, and washing the hands, and it was all challenges for all these factors were not impossible for the disability sector. When we talk of the social distancing, and we have a cerebral palsy children, we have a young man who is on the wheelchair and he is roaming around, how can he keep the social distance? It was a big challenge for all of us. And when it was for the mask, wearing a mask and going outside for deaf people and those who are not able to speak were always in a challenge when they were wearing a mask, and they were not able to get the lip reading, they were not able to get what others are trying to ask, because most of the times we don't have sign language everywhere. We have only people with hearing and speech disabilities who look on the lip reading. They go with the lip reading and see what people are trying to say. They grasp it to some extent, and finally they make the conclusions from it. And regarding the washing of hands, many children, many people with disabilities who were not able to wash their hands on their own, they were not able to wash the hands. Then only the life start changing, and we started trying to reach everyone how they can overcome these challenges. The main challenge in the society was the reach, the access. person with disabilities had no access to the services. Somewhere people were giving the relief to those families where the um, bread earner was not able to have the livelihood these days, and people were not having the livelihood resources. Then so many organizations started the giving relief. But for person with disabilities, it was not easy to go and get the relief. So our organization started some relief work, and we had a complete focus on disability sector. The person, we had a big list of person with disabilities who were getting calls, phone calls from the caregivers, from directly from the person with disabilities. And at the first instance, it was only relief, and it was not above that. But when time started going on and going on, it was regarding aids and appliances. Some were not having the wheelchairs, some were having the small problems, hearing aids, some were having the small problem in a sitting. They were not able to get their mobility aids. It was again a big challenge how to get mechanics who will repair their aids and appliances. Can we replace their aids and appliances? And then it came to the severe disabled persons, when it was regarding the what we called as the special needs or the high support needs, the person who are having need of diapers, those who were having the need of catheters, urine bags, ointments, psychiatry medicines, the epileptic seizure medicines. It was at that time everything was in a mess, and some people were having the money, but they were not able to access the services, where to go, where to because shops were closed suddenly. The government of India said that we have to bear with the government orders, we have to keep the shutdown. So medicines were not available, although as we were having some children who were having the psychiatric issues, who were having the behavioral problems, they were not supposed to stop the medicines at all. But still, uh, again, a challenge was there, how to get these medicines, how to make their life easy, how to keep them on a way that they don't have some behavioral issues without medicines. Uh, when it came to the educational services, at a point we were saying that online education will be given. But when online education was started, the deaf children were completely dropped out, because it was radio classing, it was teleclassing, but there was no provision for of sign language interpretation. There was no provision of the for the blind children to get the Android phones. They belonged to the families where 2 times meal was a challenge, and getting a mobile phone was very much far away concept. And after that, when people came helping them, giving them phones, but again there was a challenge that nobody was in a position to assist them, nobody was in a position to help them to get the studies in a very mature way. So these were the main challenges. You can get my points that in every aspect it was a challenge.
Thank you so much, Javed, for sharing. I will try and just summarize also in Hindi once. जावेद की संस्था का जो काम का अनुभव रहा है, उसमें डिसेबिलिटी के साथ जीने वाले जो व्यक्ति रहे हैं, उनकी अलग अलग तरीके की जो दिक्कतें थी, उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा जावेद ने हमारे साथ शेयर किया. ये जो दिक्कतें थी वो बहुत अलग तरीके के अनुभव से निकल के आती हैं. कुछ के लिए मास्क पहनने का जो नॉर्म था या रूल था, उसके कारण कुछ दिक्कतें थी, जैसे कि लिप रीडिंग ना कर पाना. कुछ के लिए व्हीलचेयर या कोई और इक्विपमेंट से जुड़े रहने के लिए जो दिक्कतें आई, जैसे कि अगर सोशल डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करना है तो उसमें जो डिफिकल्टीज आई. कईयों के लिए जो जरूरतें भी महसूस हुई वो भी बहुत अलग तरीके की थी. किसी लोगों के लिए वो शायद रिलीफ तक सीमित रही होंगी. वो रिलीफ का जो सर्विस मिल रहा था वहां तक का एक्सेस शायद डिफिकल्ट हो गया, और कुछ के लिए शायद जो इक्विपमेंट की जरूरत उन्हें लगी उसका भी एक्सेस बहुत लोगों के लिए मुश्किल था। जहां तक शिक्षा का सवाल है, उस पे भी परिणाम होते हुए उन्होंने देखा। कई सारे ऐसे व्यक्ति जो डेफनेस अनुभव करते हैं, उनके लिए शिक्षा का एक्सेस रुक गया, क्योंकि बहुत सारा जो शेयर हो रहा था शिक्षा के रूप में, वो ऑडियो के तौर पर आ रहा था, जो ऐसे व्यक्तियों को एक्सेस करना मुश्किल हुआ। शुक्रिया जावेद ये शेयर करने के लिए। आई विल कम टू वनिशा। Vanisha, a similar question for you as well. At the time that the pandemic hit, from what I understand, Khoj was still located in the community, in any small. I'm sure that in your experience, while being in the community, as well as later as schools started reopening, there would be a lot of areas that you may have seen being impacted with regards to the well-being of not just children and young people, but also families and communities you work with. Can you share what you noticed, what your observations and experiences were?
Yes, sure. Just let me know if you are all able to hear me properly.
Sir, I understand that you are joining from the school. So there is the background sound that we are able to hear. If it is possible to maybe minimize that, or if you can shut the door that you are sitting in, that will help.
Just give me a minute, I will do it.
Sure, no problem. While Vanisha joins, a quick update for all our participants and attendees. In case you all have questions for the panelists, you will find a Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen. You can use that tab and post your questions. Towards the end, I will be directing some of the questions to Vanisha and Javed. Until then, yes. Vanisha, you can begin, please.
Yes. So when I joined Coach, I joined as an online teacher, and I felt that was the toughest part of my journey, because not only virtual class was a new thing for me, but me being a new person in the teaching profession with 32 students on one screen without knowing any one of them. Also, me being a new person to the students, it took a while for the students and also for me to create a kind of bond and create safe space to have conversations. I think during the virtual class, the students were always around their caregivers because many of the caregivers lost their jobs during pandemic, due to which it was very difficult to have sensitive conversations when we do any kind of themes related to SCL or any conversations on any topic. So the discussion was very difficult to have with the students. Secondly, I think students learning was another critical part which impacted. With that being a teacher, I always had a fear of my students that they might lose their interest or they might move away from the sense of classroom or school. But I think slowly we get used to it as we were seeing each other every day or making check-in calls. So as a teacher, I make sure that I at least do once check-in call once a week, so that I get to know those students apart from the class also, just to know what are they doing or what is going in their family. And also sometimes I used to wait after the class so that I can talk to the parents and take their feedback, which things are working, not working in the classroom, as a viewer, because they were the only one who were who were the viewer in the class. So it was very important to take that feedback also.
Just a minute.
So I think these
1
were
minute.
2-3 critical parts which
Sorry,
impacted.
Vanisha, can you just
Hello.
hold for a second? Yes, Madhu.
Yeah, the thing is, she is too fast.
Yeah, Vanisha, if you can just
And secondly,
slow.
Rachita
sorry.
is over.
Yeah, Vanisha, if I can just request you to slow down, and if I can ask one of the co-hosts to
So she wants to also be on the screen, but she's not been able to see.
sorry, Madhu, just 1 second. The co-hosts are just resolving the spotlighting issue. And Vanisha, if I can
Please
just
ask Rachita
request,
to also come in.
yeah. Vanisha, if I can just request you to slow down in when you're speaking, so that
Okay.
they can keep up with your pace.
Should I keep my camera off so that my voice is clearly heard?
Yeah, Vanisha, that will help. If you can do that, it will be great.
Okay. So I can start again. So I was saying that when I joined Coach, I joined as an online teacher, and I felt that it was the toughest part of my journey because not only
Sorry, I think there's an internet issue at Vanisha's end. Vanisha, are you able to
can
hear
you hear
us?
me? Yes. Yes, now I am able to hear you. I just got dropped.
Yeah, Vanisha, if you're able to hear us, if you can just continue where you left off. You were talking about how the online teaching posed certain challenges for you as a teacher. If you can continue from there.
So I was saying that to have critical conversation or sensitive conversation or discussion with the students was difficult part because as during the pandemic, many of the parents lost their jobs, so they were at home around the students during the classrooms. So it was very difficult to have those kind of conversations with them when we used to do SCL. On SEL themes or any SEL topic. Secondly, I think students' learning was unable to connect because
Okay, I think the internet connection is giving us some trouble. My apologies for the break in our conversation. We'll reconnect with Vanisha as she joins back. Until then, I'll come back to Javed. Um, uh, I think that for both Vanisha and for you, Javed, a lot of the work lies in centering well-being and inclusion for the people and communities you work with. Um, and there are specific roles that each of your teams, whether it is educators, whether it is social workers, mental health professionals, who are working in the community, in terms of working with the community, what were some of the challenges that your teams may have faced or that you on your own may have faced when you all were trying to create that access to inclusive spaces, to ensuring that well-being was experienced in the best way possible? Javed, if you can start first.
Yes, yes. Uh, Actually, every time when you have a team to work, team members are not available. It is a scattered population. They live at different places. First of all, mobilizing the team was a challenge, and we used an ambulance services to mobilize our team because sometimes we had a specific case where we can't do anything, rather to go and visit to the home. We had some children with severe disabilities who were in need of the physiotherapy, and it was not a kind of work that we can do online. It is a one-to-one interaction, it is a one-to-one training, it is a one-to-one service we provide. So we had to use ambulance services, and when COVID was at its peak, some children were feeling pain. They were already on the physiotherapy, and we had to follow their. And so we have to. It was a challenge how to access these services, how we can go somebody's house, how we can then motivate them that this child he's in pain. Let us give him this sort of exercise. Then it was other challenges in the family, how they will get motivated to start intervention with a child with disability. So, but uh, uh, our team worked very hard, and we succeeded in a lot of things. And most of the things which we thought that they should be catered, some of them couldn't cater, some of them remain as if, and we are still working on it, how maybe some other sort of lockdown will be there, barriers will be there, how we can overcome those challenges. In the same way, we had a challenge that due to lockdown, mobility was restricted by the government, and there were law enforcing agencies which were not giving any kind of access to people go here and there, and asking them why we are outside, why we are going here and there. Sometimes the law enforcing agencies were not totally agreeing with us. No, it is a sort of a difficult time, it is a odd time, it is a harsh time, so you can't, you should stop your services. Uh, and when it was regarding the hygiene, most of the women with disabilities who are in need of the hygiene kits, personal hygiene equipments, we were not able to reach them. On one side, we are getting the calls, and other side, when we are trying to go there, it was completely a kind of challenge. How we can do it? Uh, Finally, we made liaising with the deputy commissioner's office. We made liaising with the uh, COVID enforcing agency in our district, who was a there were some officials who were dealing with these situations. We social welfare officers, we went there, we had a phonic conversation, we reached the panchayati raj institutions, we reached other people, and we started listening with them, a local police station and others, and then only to a kind of to some extent we overcame these challenges. And for giving the people a kind of that we can the sensitivity towards the hygiene, we also manage the hygiene kits, soaps, uh, toothbrush, and we asked the people to at least to maintain the hygiene during the this COVID. And for the case of children with disabilities, it should be the priority. You should not make it that these children are now at home, they don't need to be bathed, they don't need brushing the teeth. You have to ensure that at least hygiene is maintained, they are purely healthy during the this COVID period, so that when the COVID ends, they again start their life, they are not given the kind of intention that life has stopped somewhere. And another one important challenge during this COVID was that some children were calling why our schooling has been stopped. Because they were not knowing, there was a communication barrier, especially for the children facing hearing and speech disability, especially the children having the intellectual disability. They were asking the questions, why we are at home, why we are only remaining inside, why we are not allowed to they were feeling that only children with disabilities are somehow put inside the home, and they are not given access to outside this environment. These were the kind of challenges I can say. And but if there would have been not the phone services available, we would have got a high challenge. Because of phone, we were at least knowing what is happening all over, and our team was in the intact. Our we were and we got a right time to reach our stakeholders, include them, and sensitize them regarding the disability rights, regarding the challenge in disability. And everyone did a good at his part. They very much contributed. They very much gave a good helping hand, and a real sensitization also came, because the challenges which were surfacing at that time regarding the access of some person with disabilities to reach the ATM, although they were having the money in the ATMs, but they were not able to, the kind of privacy was broken. Some women with disabilities were giving their ATMs to other people, and many exploitations also happen in these times.
थैंक यू जावेद. फिर से मैं एक बार बस समराइज करती हूँ जो जावेद ने शेयर किया. टीम के साथ काम करने में सबसे बड़ी चीज जो एक आपने बताई वो ये थी कि टीम अपने आप में भी काफी स्कैटर्ड थी. बहुत अलग अलग जगहों से लोग काम करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, जो अपने आप में एक तरीके से एक दिक्कत थी. उसके बावजूद कुछ ऐसे तरीके थे जिससे कि टीम आपके कम्युनिटीज के साथ काम करते रही. उनमें से कुछ चीजें जो आपने शेयर की वो ये थी कि हाइजीन का जो इम्पोर्टेंस है उसको बार बार एम्फसाइज कर पाना कि इसकी जरूरत है और ये लोगों के नजरिए में लेके आ पाना. साथ में एक और चीज जो आपने एज अ दिक्कत बताई थी कि जो स्टूडेंट्स और चिल्ड्रन को महसूस हुई वो ये भी थी कि अपने शिक्षा के बारे में जो कम्युनिकेशन उन तक जा रहा था वो कुछ हद तक सीमित था. तो उन्हें कई बार ये लग रहा था कि सिर्फ उन्हीं के शिक्षा पे रोक लाई गई है. एंड एक चीज जो इस मामले में आपके टीम को हेल्प कर रही थी वो ये भी थी कि कम से कम फोन के माध्यम से जो एक्सेस था वो जुड़ा रहा और आप सेंसिटाइजेशन या अवेयरनेस, जागरूकता किसी तरीके की ये कर पाए थे स्टूडेंट्स के साथ और कम्युनिटी मेंबर्स के साथ भी. एक और दिक्कत जो टुवर्ड्स द एंड आपने मेंशन की वो ये भी थी कि जब सर्विसेज, पब्लिक सर्विसेज एक्सेस करने थे जैसे एटीएम है, तो प्रिवेसी मेंटेन करना कई लोगों के लिए डिफिकल्ट हुआ क्योंकि उनको वो जो जानकारी थी वो औरों के साथ शेयर करनी पड़ी थी और इसके कारण कुछ हद तक एक्सप्लॉयटेशन का अनुभव भी लोगों को आया. शुक्रिया जावेद शेयर करने के लिए. Vanisha, if you are back now, even with the video off, that's fine, no problem. If you can continue where you left off, you talked about the challenges that you faced. If you can also highlight a little bit about what were some practices in the classroom, in the school, which allowed you and the team to continue to center well-being and inclusion.
Okay. Can you hear me now properly?
Yes, Vanisha. Yes.
Is it better? Okay. So during the virtual class, or I would say now also in the physical class, one practice was mandatory to do was the visual and auditory instructions at the same time, so that both the visual and auditory learners get the instructions clearly, or using materials which are already available with the students, so that the parents don't have to buy any extra materials for any kind of activity, or just being mindful of doing any movement activity, just keeping the space in mind where the students are living, or also in the physical classroom. I think in this whole process,
Vanisha, if you can
as a
just
team,
pause,
we noticed
just pause for a second. I'll just paraphrase what Vanisha shared again. एक चीज जो ऑनलाइन स्कूलिंग के टाइम पे और अभी जब फिजिकल में भी ट्रांजिशन हुआ है, जो वनिशा की टीम और वनिशा खुद जो प्रैक्टिस कर रही थी, जिसने थोड़ा सा मदद किया इंक्लूजन को नर्चर करते रहने के लिए, वो ये था कि जब इंस्ट्रक्शंस दिए जा रहे थे, टीचर्स स्टूडेंट्स के साथ काम कर रहे थे, तो वो विजुअल, ऑडिटरी अलग अलग माध्यमों से करते रहना, ताकि स्टूडेंट्स को जो लर्निंग हो रही है उसका एक्सेस जितना बेहतर तरीके से हो पाए वो करते रहे. और ये एक प्रैक्टिस था जो उन्हें हेल्प किया ये कर पाने के लिए. वनिशा, you can continue if there was another one you can.
yes. So I think in this whole process, as a team, we noticed some of the things which triggered us as a part of students' learning. We noticed that the learning gap is increasing due to pandemic. There were several reasons for the learning gap. For example, devices available nahi the, lack of parental support. There were sometimes there were no recharge in the phone, and the financial issues of the parents. So they were not able to buy new devices. So as a team, we decided to start bridge course for the students so that each student in the class feels inclusive and supportive during the class. Essay, and also there were some more crucial decisions which we took during the process, and so just to make students active, and just don't feel left out in that whole process. I think also during the final year of assessment, we made questions papers as per the students need and not a common one for everyone, because every child has their own way of expressing and doing things. So it was very important to make question paper as per the students needs. So for me, I think that this was a kind of this is what means by equitable learning when we say it.
थैंक्स वनिशा। एक और जो प्रैक्टिस एक्चुअली एक से ज्यादा थे, मैं दोनों समराइज करूंगी। पहला ये कि टीचर्स ने एक चीज जो नोटिस की वो ये थी कि लर्निंग गैप बढ़ते जा रहा था पैंडेमिक का जो प्रभाव था उसके कारण। कुछ कारण थे कि लॉस ऑफ जॉब्स के कारण जो फिनेंसेस में दिक्कतें आई, घर के अंदर डिवाइसेस ना होना क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीजें ऑनलाइन हो रही थी, कई बार रिचार्ज के पैसे अगर कम पड़ रहे हैं इंटरनेट को एक्सेस करने के लिए, ये जो लर्निंग गैप बढ़ते हुए नजर आया, उसके लिए टीचर्स ने कोशिश ये की थी कि अलग अलग तरीके से ये लर्निंग को ब्रिज कैसे करें। इसके लिए कुछ तरीके के करिकुलम में, डिजाइन में, इंस्ट्रक्शन में उन्होंने नई चीजें इंट्रोड्यूस की। दूसरा ये कि जब असेसमेंट करना है कि बच्चे कितना सीख रहे हैं, कैसे सीख रहे हैं, इसका जो असेसमेंट होना था, ये भी उन्होंने हर एक स्टूडेंट की जरूरत कितनी अलग है ये ध्यान में रखते हुए वो असेसमेंट को अलग तरीके से डिजाइन किया गया। शुक्रिया वनिशा ये शेयर करने के लिए। आई विल कम टू one last question for both Javed and Vanisha, and then we will go to questions from the audience. हमारा जो संदर्भ है, जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, रिसर्च के माध्यम से ये तो डेफिनेटली पता लग रहा है कि पैंडेमिक का जो प्रभाव है वो सिर्फ ये 2 साल तक सीमित नहीं है। जो चीजें हुई हैं उसका शायद इसके आगे और कई सालों तक परिणाम नजर आएगा। लोग कैसे वेलबींग को अनुभव करते हैं, इंक्लूजन या समावेश को अनुभव करते हैं, इसका प्रभाव नजर आने वाला है। ये जानते हुए आप अपनी टीम्स का और अपने खुद का जो आपकी जो भूमिका है उसको कैसे देखते हैं? ये पोस्ट पैंडेमिक की जो दुनिया में हम जीने वाले हैं, हमारे कम्युनिटीज, स्टूडेंट, केयर गिवर्स सभी जी रहे हैं, इसमें आप अपनी भूमिका और अपनी संस्था या आपके टीम की भूमिका को कैसे देखते हैं? If Javed, you can begin, and again we'll come back to Vanisha.
Yes, post pandemic जो ड्यूटी है वो बहुत बढ़ चुकी है। we really have to be very thoughtful, resourceful while dealing the future life, क्योंकि जो हमने सोचा ही नहीं था उस चीज का हमें अनुभव हुआ। जो चीजें हमें पहले हम कोशिश कर रहे थे इंक्लूजन की, उसका अपोजिट हो गया कि एकदम सेग्रीगेशन हो गई। we all are at that this time we are at the segregation, we are segregated, we are totally अभी तक भी कुछ लोग हैं जो अभी अपने फैमिली से नहीं मिले, जो दूसरे मुल्कों में है या कहीं दूर है, उस वजह से वो अभी अपने घरों में। तो हम इस वक्त भी ये नहीं कह सकते हैं कि हमने कोई स्टेबलाइजेशन ली। अभी भी हम कह सकते हैं कि अगर हम लास्ट फेज ऑफ दिस बोलेंगे कि जो कोविड चल रहा था उसके लास्ट फेज में है, अभी 5% अभी उसका भी बाकी है। तो उसके बाद जो फ्यूचर लाइफ हमारी होनी चाहिए वो सच में रिसोर्सफुल होनी चाहिए, एक्टिव होनी चाहिए, और हमें पता होना चाहिए कि अब जो हुआ पीछे, जो हमारी अनएक्सपेक्टेड एक सिचुएशन आ गई, अब ये एक्सपेक्टेड हो सकती है, अब इसके लिए हमें क्या करना है। तो वी हैव बीन मीटिंग एवरी मंथ, जो हमारा अपडेशन हो रहा है अपने स्टाफ का, अपने काम का, तो उसमें हम जरूर इस बात पे शेयर करते हैं कि let us think, let us assume that there is a situation for 1 month, we again have to face the lockdown. What will we do? जो हमने पिछले इस कोविड में चैलेंजेस पाए थे, हम उनका जिक्र बिल्कुल बार बार करते हैं। अगर हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम का देखें तो पहले ऑक्सीजन की कमी हुई, बाद में ज्यादा से ज्यादा जो लोगों को अगर उन मेडिसिन की कमी हो गई जो डॉक्टर सजेस्ट कर रहे थे लेकिन अवेलेबल नहीं थे। तो क्या अब वो चीजें बिल्कुल अलाइन पे है। हम कभी कभी डॉक्टर्स के साथ मीटिंग करते हैं कि व्हाट आर नाउ योर न्यू प्लान्स टू डील विद द डिसेबिलिटी सेक्टर। देर आप बोल रहे थे कि इनको घरों में रखो, इनको जरूरत नहीं है हॉस्पिटल में रहने की, डिस्पाइट कि उनकी तबीयत बहुत ज्यादा खराब होती थी। कुछ बच्चों का ऑक्सीजन लेवल इतना कम होता था, फिर भी डॉक्टर सजेस्ट करते थे कि दे आर डबली वनरेबल, उनको हॉस्टल में मत रखो। तो हम कभी कभी डॉक्टर्स के साथ ये भी जिक्र करते हैं कि नाउ व्हाट शुड वी डू। तो हमने बहुत सारे हॉस्पिटल्स में 1-2 बेड रिजर्व रखे जो डिसेबल्ड लोगों के लिए ही होंगे। उनका काम जब भी पैंडेमिक में या जनरल जो भी हेल्थ केयर है उसको, और एक अलग विंडो क्रिएट करने की हमने हर हॉस्टल में बात करी है कि नाउ इट इज द नीड ऑफ द आवर कि हमें बुजुर्गों और पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज के लिए एक अलग सा काउंटर होना चाहिए। वन विंडो वन सिस्टम की, एक ही विंडो में उसको सब कुछ मिलना चाहिए कि आपको कहाँ जाना है, कैसे जाना है। तो इसी तरीके से एजुकेशन लेवल में जहाँ पे वी आर नाउ इन्वॉल्विंग द पेरेंट्स कि आप अपने बच्चे को कैसे फिजियोथेरेपी करेंगे, ये अब आपका मामला बन चुका है। इसी तरीके से सिबलिंग्स को साइन लैंग्वेज सिखाना, वो उस साइन लैंग्वेज को स्टैंडर्ड साइन लैंग्वेज को सीखे ताकि उनको उस वक्त ज्यादा जरूरत ना पड़े कि दूसरे को बुलाना जब ऐसी सिचुएशन आए कि कोई इसके लिए हेल्प करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है। तो बहुत सारे ऐसे हमने जिसको हम बोलते हैं कि मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी एस्पेक्ट से देखा और एक टीम खड़ा किए है जहां, और स्कूल में हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि चिल्ड्रन विद डिसेबिलिटीज को खुद एक मॉक ड्रिल करने के लिए, जहां पे आपको डिजास्टर्स, पैंडेमिक्स, लॉकडाउन सिचुएशन में खुद डील करने की उनको उनमें क्षमता बढ़े। क्योंकि अर्लियर हम यही सोचते थे कि दे आर द पैरासाइट्स, दे आर द डिपेंडेंट्स, हमें इनका ये बोझ है, इनको हमें। लेकिन अब आज की दुनिया में पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज को कंप्लीटली इंडिपेंडेंट बनाने के लिए और हर सिचुएशन को डील करने में उनकी ट्रेनिंग करना, उनकी कैपेसिटी बिल्ड करना अब एक इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्टर बन चुका है।
Shukriya, Javed. Thank you, Javed. I'll summarize what Javed shared. One of the things that his team has also recognized is that the duty for creating support system has definitely increased post-pandemic after the realization of what experiences they had, which is, as he explained it, that while inclusion is what needed to happen, there was almost the exact opposite, which was the experience of being very, very segregated or excluded. And he also shared that while we are still in that last phase of the pandemic, it's not really something we can say has completely ended. The team has to now start taking into account the unexpected experiences. And for that, one of the practices in the team is that they now meet every month and where they brainstorm also to share if there is a situation like this that does occur, if there is another lockdown, what is it that the team can start doing? How can they start anticipating some of the challenges that might be experienced from their previous experience, which is related to healthcare, whether it was the lack of oxygen cylinders, access to medicines, to hospital services, and educational services. They have now in their practice also built in an interdisciplinary approach. The idea is therefore to then prepare students more in the face of a crisis like this or disasters like this. One of the perspectives that Javed brought, and thank you for that, which is that until now, this approach of looking at persons with disabilities as people who only need support and who have to be helped. How is it that we can start shifting to looking at capacity building and change that perspective as we work with these communities? Vanisha, if you can share from your experience, what is it that you all see now as your role in this post-pandemic world, and moving towards also centering well-being and inclusion, while you recognize what impact the last 2 years have had?
Yes. So I think that my role in continuing and centering SCL and inclusion will will include some steps like just centering mindfulness, just doing it every day in the class, before starting the class and ending the class, centering the stories of well-being, having conversation with the students on a daily basis, just taking a pause wherever it is needed. Because I think that when I say taking a pause, or just giving time or space for the students just to think and process stuff, is I can share one example from my classroom where I experienced this. So we were in the classroom and we were playing puzzle, and अचानक से एक student से एक puzzle break हो गया, and I asked everyone in the class कि ये puzzle जो है ये break किसने किया है. So one of the so किसी ने मुझे बताया नहीं कि वो puzzle किसने break किया है. एंड फिर मैंने थोड़ी देर पॉज लेने के बाद में मैंने फिर से उनसे पूछा कि ठीक है, अगर किसी ने भी ये पजल को ब्रेक किया या फिर डैमेज किया है, वो मुझे सेपरेटली लंच ब्रेक में आके मुझे बता सकते हैं कि किसने किया है वो. ठीक है. एंड एट थोड़े समय के बाद में दैट चाइल्ड लिटरली केम टू मी लंच ब्रेक में अकेले में, उसने मुझे आके बताया कि दीदी ये जो पजल है ये मेरे से गलती से टूट गया, मैं खेल रहा था इसके साथ में. At that moment I felt that how important SCL is. And when we say कि space जब हम बोलते हैं कि जो space चाहिए हमें बात करने के लिए, फिर express करने के लिए, वो कितना important है. Also giving agency to the students to decide what they want to do and what they don't want to do in the classrooms. उनके because sometimes happens कि जब हम उनको कोई चीज करने के लिए force करते हैं तो वो कर तो लेते हैं, but it is also कि वो उनके जो भी intention है उससे नहीं कर रहे, it is they are doing it forcefully. So yeah, I think also the next thing would be building rapport with the community, with the caregivers, interacting with the caregivers, just talking to them, not only with students, सिर्फ बच्चों के बारे में ही नहीं, लेकिन उनके बारे में भी, उनके वेलबींग के बारे में भी, कि उनकी तबीयत कैसी है, और just having just random check-in calls with them. So this can be some of the practices which we can continue doing.
वनिशा ने 2-3 ऐसे प्रैक्टिसेस बताए जो वो समझती हैं कि वो एक्टिवली अपने क्लासरूम में और अपने प्रैक्टिस में लेके आ सकती हैं. क्लासरूम के अंदर 2 चीजें, एक ये कि माइंडफुलनेस जैसे जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, जहाँ पे रुक कर, पॉज कर थोड़ा सा फीलिंग्स को महत्व दे पाना, कि बच्चे क्या महसूस कर रहे हैं, उसको रुक कर थोड़ा सा ऑब्जर्व कर पाना, इसके लिए स्पेस बना पाए. रोज के कॉन्वर्जेशन में वेलबींग के लिए एक जगह मिले जहां पे बच्चों के साथ इसके ऊपर बातचीत हो, वो अपने आप को खुलकर एक्सप्रेस कर पाए. एक और तीसरी चीज जो वनिशा ने शेयर की कि केयरगिवर्स, फैमिलीज और कम्युनिटी, इनके साथ का जो रैपो है, रिलेशनशिप है, उसको कंटिन्यूअसली बिल्ड करते रहना. ये कुछ प्रैक्टिसेस वनिशा ने शेयर की. साथ में एक एग्जांपल अपने क्लासरूम में से जो उन्होंने दिया, वो ये था कि ये जो स्पेस जहाँ पे एक्सप्रेस कर पाना, इसका एक उदाहरण, उनके क्लास में कुछ स्टूडेंट्स जब खेल रहे थे तो एक पजल जब टूट गया, स्टूडेंट्स से पूछने पर पहले किसी ने वो जवाब नहीं दिया कि ये कैसे टूटा या किसने तोड़ा. ये जब ओपन अप किया गया कि आप मेरे से बाद में आके ये बात कर सकते हैं, तब ब्रेक टाइम में स्टूडेंट ने इंडिविजुअली ये बात टीचर से शेयर की तो ये जो स्पेस है ये कर पाने का, सेफ्टी महसूस कर पाने का या ट्रस्ट महसूस कर पाने का, इसको बिल्ड करने के प्रैक्टिस के बारे में वनिशा ने शेयर किया। शुक्रिया जावेद और वनिशा दोनों आपका। थैंक यू टू बोथ जावेद एंड वनिशा फॉर शेयरिंग अ लॉट ऑफ दीज एक्सपीरियंसेस, bringing to the front the very very varied challenges of diverse contexts. बहुत अलग अलग संदर्भों में लोगों के अनुभव से जो चैलेंजेस निकल के आए हैं वो शेयर करने के लिए शुक्रिया। साथ में जो प्रैक्टिसेस काम आए हैं इंक्लूजन और SEL पे फोकस रखने के, वो भी शेयर करने के लिए बहुत शुक्रिया। We'll take a few questions now from the audience. एक क्वेश्चन जो आया है ये वनिशा के लिए है। स्कूल ने जब असेसमेंट्स को एडमिनिस्टर करना था उस समय पर अलग अलग स्टूडेंट्स की जरूरतों को ध्यान में कैसे रखा गया? वनिशा, if you can share a bit.
Yes, I can share that. So, जो objectives थे या फिर जो भी questions थे वो सभी common थे सारे बच्चों के लिए, लेकिन जो instructions थे उस question paper में वो बहुत ही break down किए हुए थे. Like for example, अगर math में मैं अगर एक
Sorry, we lost Vanisha's audio again. I'll just explain till then what she said. While the main questions or what needed to be
addition
assessed.
subtraction के अगर उसमें sums थे तो
Sorry, Vanisha, you broke, your voice broke in the middle. We heard you till the point where you shared that instructions were differentiated, while the main question and what needed to be assessed was similar for most students, but how it had to be assessed,
Yes.
the instruction and how it was given is what was different. And you were giving an example of math. You can share that.
Yes. So like for example, अगर math में addition का कोई sum है, so कुछ बच्चों के लिए it was 2 plus 2, but कुछ papers में it was like circle, 2 circle plus 2 circle, 2 triangles plus 2 triangles. So this was some of the breakdown of instructions in the question papers.
Thank
so
you,
ऐसे
Vanisha.
वो किया था, तो objectives was not different, objective was same for everyone, but the instructions was very breakdown. It was और कुछ question paper में pictures add किए हुए थे, color prints थे, so that वो color के वजह से वो interpret कर पाए चीजें.
So Vanisha gave an example of how the assessments were differentiated using for math. In math, one of the ways they did it is that while what we wanted to check was addition and the ability to add, for some it may have been in the form of written numbers, whereas for others it was using visual cues, shapes, designs, textures, and colors, which were relatable for the student. We have one more question which has come in the Q&A. Javed, if I can request you to answer this. The question is that we all know that there is a need for qualified personal care attendants to assist with activities of daily living. Post-pandemic, how are organizations planning to hire or train staff towards providing services with the pandemic changes in mind? What are some new changes being discussed with regards to this?
Basically, it is a big challenge for us as I am from Jammu and Kashmir, and getting trained staff is still a big challenge for us. We are not getting the trained staff. What we have done, we have already made a kind of situation. We get people from national institutes and do 2 days or 3 days training programs. And already trained manpower what we have, we always do the capacity building program in our own setup, so that at least what knowledge we have already gained in our setup, it should be updated and it should be at least used within the limits. Second is that we are trying to get the people from outside, as Jammu and Kashmir is mostly having a bad name regarding the situation, and people are not ready to come from the outside to work here. We still need the sign language interpreters. We need speech trainers. Um, Rest of the people we have handling physiotherapy, special educators. We have those, but in lot of matters we don't have the trained staff. During pandemics, what we did, we were consulting the people of, outside, because we have a big network of person with disabilities, also national disability network, and almost in every state we have a state leader who works on different forums and core issues. And when we have any challenge, we do a video conference, we do a Zoom conference, and we do little trainings with them also. We get sometimes people from national institutes who come here for 2-3 days and they do it. So we have the mechanism to slow down our problems, but uh, we are not fully equipped. I should accept that.
Thank you, Javed. I'll just see if there are any other questions we have received until now. For the audience, if you all have any more questions to the panelists, please do share them in the Q&A. अगर आपके और भी कोई सवाल हैं तो Q&A वाले टैब में क्लिक करके आप ऐड कर सकते हैं. एक और क्वेश्चन है जो चैट में शेयर किया है. ये क्वेश्चन जावेद आपके लिए पूछा है कि जब आपके काम में आप अलग अलग पहचान या आइडेंटिटीज के लोगों के साथ काम करते हैं, तो डिसेबिलिटी एंड जो बाकी सोशल आइडेंटिटीज हैं उनके इंटरसेक्शन को आप कैसे देखते हैं, या वो कैसे नजर आता है आपके काम में, ये थोड़ा सा अगर शेयर कर सकते हैं. I'll repeat the question. How does disability intersect with other identities, other social identities in the work that you all do, Javed?
Basically, earlier we were facing a lot of difficulties to work with the person with disabilities, because disability was completely treated as the source of charity, and these people are not needed by the society. They are unable, they can't do anything. When we started the school, a lot of children showed their performance, and they bagged high positions that a number of non-disabled students. And when they participated in the and appeared in the 8th class examination in a cluster situation where 40 schools, 45 schools, children were appearing in the exam of same nature, and our children having blindness, having orthopedic disability, having learning disabilities, when they also appeared in the examination, they competed well and they showed a good result. At least they were in a line. After that, there were lot of non-disabled students after them. So it was a kind of highlighted kind of this performance which they showed. And now the people are coming at their own. We want to know about your school. We want to know about these children with disabilities. As the pandemics was just 2 years back, we had made a kind of situation where people were already ready to help us and work with us. And the situation we had dealt earlier regarding that, we didn't face any grave situation regarding the handling of person with disability. We have a good number of volunteers who are always ready to work for the person with disabilities in the area.
Thank you, Javed. I think one thing that the person who's asked the question has also emphasized is that specifically if with regards to when we think about experience of disability, when that intersects with, let's say, gender or with religion, is there something that you have observed in that context in the work that you have done?
No, that we have never faced, because every time we focus on the trainings in B.Ed colleges, we focus on awareness programs in the educational institutions, and we have formatted a number of groups who come forward for, and they offer their services as scribe during the exam for blind students, prompters for the deaf students, and sometimes boys are the scribe for girls, and sometimes when we do the some inclusive sports programs in which boys and girls are the playing in the same game, so and disabled non-disabled are playing in the one game, so we have already crossed those barriers, that those barriers are not coming inside our circles.
Thank you. There is one more question. This is more to do with, and I think this might be our last question for this panel. There was a mention about how there aren't a lot of trained people, and there is sometimes a lack that we experience. How can trainers approach your organizations if they want to help out?
They are most welcome, and we have a website, humanity welfare helpline.org, humanity welfare helpline.org. That is our organization name, Humanity Welfare Organization Helpline. We have Facebook pages on my own name, Javed Ahmad Tak, Humanity Welfare Organization Helpline, Disability Rights Group. We have a Twitter handle, Javed Ahmad Tak, @J Social Activist. We have a mail ID, jsocialactivist@gmail.com. You have a number of ways to search on the different search engines. You will find us, you can approach us, and you can, I am typing here the numbers, two numbers. One is my mobile number and another is our institution landline number. That is 01932233127. And we have the, my number is 94690 94690 You can approach us.
Thank you very much. We are about 3 or 4 minutes past our panel time, but thank you very, very much to both Javed and Banisha, to Madhu and Rajita for interpreting throughout this panel discussion. It has been an enriching conversation, very enlightening, sensitizing. Not, I know that I felt it, and hopefully the audience and a lot of participants may have also taken away an understanding of your specific contexts.